Okay, welcome back. This is Mr. Hassan's Maths channel, and I'm now going to answer this question from the October-November 2022 paper 4 variant 1 of the IGCSE Cambridge exam. And this question here would be corresponding to the new syllabus, which is starting 2025, to the calculator paper. So it would be like in the calculator paper. So here it says Zach invests $500 at a rate of 2% per year simple interest. Calculate the value of Zach's investment at the end of 5 years. So here we have a question about simple interest. All right, so with simple interest, the increase is based upon the original investment all the time. So you just use a simple formula, which is I equals P R T over 100. And this tells us the extra amount in the account. Okay, it doesn't tell us the new balance. So the P stands for the amount that's invested. So that's 500. If it's a loan, then the P stands for the amount borrowed. R stands for the rate without the percentage sign, just the number. Okay, because this 100 basically takes care of the percent. That 100 stands for the over 100. So you just write 2. You don't write 0.02 for R here in this formula. And T stands for the amount of time in years, which is 5 years. So be careful, sometimes it might have 6 months or 1.5 years. You have to 6 months or 18 months, for example. It might be in terms of months. You have to change it to years to use in this formula. So once we've got that, we can put this in the formula. So we have 500 times 2 times 5 over 100. Okay, 500 times 2 times 5 over 100. Those will cancel out. So we're left with 5 times 5, which is 25, times 2, which is 50. So that's not the answer. Okay, this is the extra amount in his account. Now they're asking us to find the value of his investment. Okay, the value of his investment. So the total value of his investment is going to be, you can say the value of his investment is going to be his original amount that he had in the account plus the extra amount that was accrued with the interest. So you're left with $550. Okay, so that is the answer to part 1. Okay, and then part 2 is dealing with what's called compound interest. So it says Yasmin invests $500 at a rate of 1.8% per year, compound interest. So this is different. This is now the new amount is based upon the amount that was there at the end of the previous year. Okay, so it says calculate the value of Yasmin's investment at the end of 5 years. Okay, so now what we have to do here is we have to think about this is not the same as the formula for this. We can't use this formula I equals PRT over 100. This is for simple interest. For compound interest, it's kind of like exponential increase. So basically it keeps increasing each time based upon the previous year's value. Right, so there's a formula that you can use for this, which is V equals, and you have the original investment P times 1 plus R over 100 to the power of N. So this formula is basically the same as, if you think about it logically, it will give you the same thing. I prefer to think about this one logically. I think, okay, of course, the amount of money in her account is going to increase. So it's an increase, it's going up, okay? And it's going up by 1.8% per year, okay? So that means the value of her investment is going to be 100% plus 1.8%, which is 101.8%. Okay, it's going to be that. You have to multiply the investment by that amount each year. Okay, so we can say that this will give you a multiplying factor of 1.018. So you can say original investment, which is 500, is going to be increased by this multiplying factor. So we can say the value is 500. Sorry, let me just do it neater. 500 multiplied by the multiplying factor, which is 1.018. Okay, and this is going to be for 5 years. So it's going to be this times that will be for the first year, and this answer times this again for the second year, and again altogether 5 times. So we're basically multiplying 500 by 1.018, okay, to the power of 5, because you have to multiply by this 5 times altogether. All right, and that will give you your answer. Okay, so if you take your calculator and you do 500 multiplied by 1.018 to the power of 5, that gives you 546.649. 546.649. Now they didn't tell us how to round it. As it's currency, it's best to round it to 2 decimal places. So I'll write this answer as 546.65. Okay. Now what we did here. Now some people don't like to think. They like to just use a formula. All right. P stands for 500. P is 500, the amount that was invested. R is 1.8. We don't have to put a percent because that 100 counts for it. And N is 5 years. So we can get the same answer using this. 500 times 1 plus 1.8 over 100 to the power of 5. You'll see that this is the same as that basically. This is going to be 1 plus, there will be 0.018. Okay, going back 2 spaces. So you'll end up with the same answer. I'll show you, if you just put this in a calculator, it will give you the same answer. So I personally don't like to just memorize a formula. I like to know where it comes from. So I like to just use this method, but both of them are the same thing basically. 1.8 over 100 to the power of 5. You see, you get exactly the same thing. All right. So whether you use the formula or whether you use this, both of them are perfectly fine. Okay, now for part 3. So Zach and Yasmin continue with these investments. How many more complete years? Now, whenever they put something in bold type, you have to take note of it. How many more complete years is it before the value of Yasmin's investment is greater than the value of Zach's investment? So let's look at Yasmin's investment and its value, and let's look at Zach's investment and its value. Right, Yasmin's investment is going to be determined by this formula over here, which is basically 500 times 1.018 to the power of the number of years. Zach's investment is going to be determined by basically his original amount, which was 500, plus the amount he gets in the simple interest, which will be determined by PRT over 100, which is going to be basically this, with that with the 5 being instead of 5 we'll have n, so it'll be 10 times n. Okay, so 500 plus 10 times whatever the number of years is. So we got to find when hers is first greater than his. Okay, so we've already got from up to n equals 5. We know, and when n equals 5, her investment is 546.65. His investment is 550. So right now hers is less than his. Okay, when n equals 5. All right. So now we got to think, for example, let's try when n equals 10. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to replace the n with 10. So I'll have 500 times 1.018 to the power of 10. On this side, I'm going to have 500 plus 10 times 10. Okay, so that's going to be 600. So this is going to be 600. And this is going to be, so we have to take this, we have 500 times 1.018 to the power of 10. That's going to be 597.65. All right, so they got closer, but they're not quite there. So that's 597.65. It's still less than. Okay, let's try, for example, when n equals, let's say, 15. So in this case, you'll have 500 times 1.08 to the power of 0.18, sorry. Did I put that right there? I did. Okay, just making sure. To the power of 15. And here I'm going to have 500 plus 10 times 15. Okay, so what does this give us? Just change that to a 15. Okay, that gives us 653.41. 653.41. And this I'm going to have now, that's going to be 100, that's going to be 650. Okay, so it's greater than. All right, but is that the first time that it happens? It could be that it could have happened in one of these years between them. All right, So for example, let's say when n equals 12, and let's see what happens. So you have 500 times 1.018 to the power of 12. On this side we have 500 plus 10 times 12. So we're going to get here, just change this to 12. So this is all trial and error because we don't know how to use logarithms. It's not expected in the syllabus, so we're going to use trial and error. So that's 619.36. Okay, in this case we're going to have 500, that's going to be 620. Okay, so it's less. Okay, it's less, so it's going to be more than 12. So let's try 13. Okay, so if 13 works, then we know that we're correct. So let's try 13. If I try 13, this becomes 630. So when n equals 13, I'm going to just write this down because I think we would get the marks because the steps are clear that we're doing. That's 630.51. Okay, and on this side we're going to have 500 plus, that's going to be 630. 500 plus 13 times 10, that's going to be 630. That's a greater time, so n equals 13. Now, it says how many more complete years from that time then. Okay, so it's from 5 up to 13. Okay, so that's 8 complete years. All right, 8 complete years, so the answer is going to be 8. 8 complete years is our answer because we have 13 minus 5. How many years is that? That's 8 years altogether between those two. So you're going to have, takes from 5 to 6, from 6 to 7, and so on. Right? So 13 minus 5 is 8. So it's going to take 8 more years than the 5 years that we considered for the investment of Yasmin to first be greater than the investment of Zach. Right, so that completes this question, part A of question number 4. It's all about exponential increase and simple and compound interest. All right, now let me see the next part of the question. Okay, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to save part A, although they're similar. I'm going to save part A under percentages. All right, it will be under percentages, simple and compound interest, and that will be a separate video from part B, which will be about exponential increase and decrease, which is similar, but I like to split them up into separate playlists so that people can focus on different topics more kind of specifically. So that's the end of this question number 4 part A. For part B will be in a separate video which I'll save, and the playlist for that will be found at the top of the screen at the end of this video over here. You'll also find questions dealing with percentages in general over here, and interest, simple and compound interest over here. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking on this link. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.